This nibble originally aired on RSBANDB Update, episode 842, The Fruitist Farmer. Enjoy. Now, this is something that was brought in this week, but promptly reversed this next one, and there's a huge discussion about this. If players attempt to stand beneath Kerapac during the Shatter mechanic, which is the one where he uses the magic spell and the spell emanates from the outer edge of the arena, the time thread will now pick a random direction to fire in instead of not firing at all. And we got a patch note, we got a note on this from Mod Raymond, who said that this actually won't be happening going forward. And, you know, as with most things like this, there's a huge discussion on this. In the tweet highlighting the reversal of this patch note, he says, based on some quick feedback, we've made the move to revert today's change to stepping underneath Kerapac to deal with the Shatter mechanic, as it made solo less viable and punished those using melee. Though it was never intended as a way of dealing with the mechanic, and after internal discussions, we're okay with this method and will take learning into future bosses / mechanics. So here we are, based on community feedback. They weren't able to fix something that was being used to skip a mechanic. I'm honestly not sure how I feel about that.
Well, it's not the first time. I mean, this is kind of the Vortec auto attack,
right?
Right? Like, well, we couldn't do it, so how about this is now a feature?
Yeah, yeah. And I talked to Thaxi about this briefly, and he didn't like the change either. And he said even if they just had it fire in the direction he was facing, it would be fine. But the biggest problem with this, according to Thaxi, and I agree with this, is that it's made it so that people with even a vague understanding of the boss can completely ignore a third of his mechanics without hitting a DPS check. Which, we need to ask the question, are we trying to make PVM accessible to all, or are we trying to make it so that every boss you have to look through this compendium of wiki guides and videos to try and, figure out if I stand on one foot here and put my finger on my nose and recite this certain chant, it's not going to do this. Obviously, that's not what you do here, but this is what it feels like, at least to me.
It is, but I mean, can that ever be avoided? I mean, no matter what it is, there's always going to be a guide that has the optimum.
But I feel like this change was made for the integrity of the boss, but the communities cried out and they said no.
Well, and I mean, that's. I hate to say it, but it is par for the course, especially when things happen in that area. If this is an XP nerf, you don't get the same reaction. You don't get the rollback. They don't do an abrupt turn.
Yeah.
Now that all being said, I do think that, if it truly is making melee equal, cool. That's, I do like that part of it, but
yeah, and the general consensus is that if you didn't have back criminal bolts, melee would be the highest damage style of combat. Okay. Mainly because of the berserk ability.
And this is just basically standing under it.
Standing under it when it does that attack, yeah.
See, and this isn't the first time there's been an issue like that. Remember when walking the bosses was a real big thing. If they can't fix it, I mean they can't fix it. But I don't know. I don't know if going back in this case
was a good idea.
It was a good idea, but that door that door was pushed open
Mm-hmm.
with the 4-tick auto
Mm-hmm.
attack, and now
Mm-hmm.
how do you how you get the horses back in the
Yeah.
barn?
Yeah, and it's not just RuneScape. I've noticed this in Star Trek Online, and I'm fairly certain it's common in most MMOs. And actually, come to think of it, it's common in Overwatch too. Is that you don't nerf things in this day and age? You bring everything else up to meet what was overpowered. That's, I think, the reason, combined with the price, that Greater Ricochet hasn't been nerfed yet.
Well, I mean, we say that, but at the same time, you see nerfs when it comes to skilling. You see XP nerfs.
Yeah. And you can justify, and you're going to hate me for saying this, you can justify those XP nerfs because people haven't spent billions of GP into that method like they have with Greater Ricochet.
Yeah, I mean, economy discussion aside,
It's the economy, stupid.
it's well, right, but I mean,
Yeah.
and you know what's funny? We used to think that the money in this game was the PVMers. Oh, they're the flashy. Nah, dude, nah. That ain't nothing.
You just
got to
know where to look on the skilling side.
The real money is down at the dueling arena.
Oh,
that's where that's where the money in this game is.
Yeah.
But I mean, all, like I said, all economy issues aside, I don't think it's good to continue to give in. Yeah. Especially when it seems to be in a particular area.
I was just looking at the tweet thread, Raymond's tweet thread, and Base Tank, another content creator, replied to him, and he said, "Holy F, thank you so much."
Mm-hmm.
So there we have it. I mean, you can basically say that unless it's something that is just downright game-breaking, it's probably going to stay in game if it makes things easier / more powerful in this day and age. And I just want everybody to just ruminate on that for a bit.
Well, and here's the thing, though. I mean, this is a lesson for Jagex. You really got to do your due diligence and bring in people that can break this stuff. I mean, and not even bring them in, but NDA them and test it, because...
Well, they did that for Solak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And how'd that work out?
If I recall,
we're not having a discussion about Solak right now, are we?
And if I recall our discussion from the first week that happened, there were no major problems like that or things that had to be rolled back. So
I remember David calling it a bosser's boss, crowning jewel. So no, I mean, I think that's even more important though now. If you can't bring stuff down, if everything that you miss is now going to become a feature, when you meant to do that, then you're going to have to really make sure you mean to do everything that you mean to do.
Exactly. Because I've seen this trend elsewhere. Things just don't get nerfed anymore. And that's the way it is. So we just got to live with that and work within those bounds and accept that power creep is part of the game, I think. You can find full episodes of RSBANDB Update right here on this YouTube channel. If you found this video useful or just enjoyed it, like and subscribe or leave a comment.